This month's sponsor is Triple Whale. Supercharge your ad campaigns with their revolutionary analytics platform because better data means better campaigns. If you're running any type of paid media, then you need to be using Triple Whale. Find out more at trytriplewhale.com. Hello, my name's Fraser and welcome to the D2C Deep Dive. Today we're going to be talking to Ed from Olipop. We're talking all things retail, why it's important to be in retail as a CPG brand, but also why is it so vital to have a D2C presence. We're also going to be speaking about TikTok and the moves that they're making in TikTok and influencer marketing. This is an absolute blinder of an episode, so make sure you listen. Let's get started. Ed, hello. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
I'm doing great. It's nice to finally meet you. I know we've talked a little bit on Twitter, but it's nice to put a name to the face.
Yeah, Ed, you're one of the many people which I've been following, stalking on Twitter on my kind of road to being more active on Twitter. It's been one of those platforms which has been led dormant for such a long time, and now I'm like, oh, it's probably worth getting on there, especially now that Elon is going to plow a ton more money into it. Hopefully it's going to become like way better. So you're from Olipop. If anyone hasn't heard about it and is completely clueless, like I'm in the UK, you aren't in the UK at the moment, which is a shame. I really want to drink some. So explain to our listeners, what is Olipop? Who are you? Where are you in your journey?
Yeah. So Olipop, it's a soda that's actually good for you, right? It's packed with plant fiber, prebiotics, botanicals that fuels your microbiome and actually supports your digestive health, right? So we've kind of labeled it as a new kind of soda. Founded in 2018. Actually, one of the founders is from the UK, so hopefully we'll make our way
Fingers
over
crossed
there.
soon, mate. We need some good. I mean, we call it pop fizzy drinks over here, but like it is. It is. It's a difficult industry over here. We've had people like Ugly Drinks. They launched in the UK. They were great, but it's difficult. Like these small players pop up and then you never really see of them. It's like very quickly taken over by the Coke, the Pepsi, all those people.
Yeah, I think one thing that's kind of helped us is that we're actually refrigerated, and so we're merchandised next to the kombuchas of the world. And so I think it's been working out well for now because our main competitors are more kombuchas. And so we're kind of grabbing those consumers and converting people who, haven't drank soda in forever because it's bad for you. And they're maybe shopping in the, digestive health department or the healthy living, and they see Olipop and they're like, oh, well, let's try this if it tastes like a soda. And then they, try it. And once you try it, there's no going back.
Yeah, I was going to say I imagine your lifetime customer value must be pretty high, right? Because it's one of those products where people will try and then they just won't be able to stop because not only for the health benefits, right, but also it tastes great and everyone wants something. It's difficult. You either go Coke, it's full of sugar, it's full of all the other bad stuff, or here it's like Fanta, all those types of like pop fizzy drink stuff that we've grown up with. There isn't really a healthy, tasty choice out there. Like kombucha is only kind of just made its way into the UK and it tastes like vomit. I cannot drink that stuff.
It's just so bitter, and it's healthy, but yeah, I'm the same way. I can't get over the kombucha taste, even for its health benefits. But yeah, I mean, Olipop, it has 2 to 5 grams of sugar, right? So I know sugar conscious is a big thing going right now amongst a lot of people. And, the average soda has 39 grams of sugar in one serving.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's absurd. And then the other thing, I don't know how it is in UK diets, but I'm sure it's probably similar, is that in American diets, fiber consumption is like at an all-time low, right? So it's absurd the amount of fiber that people are consuming in a day. It's so low. And so Olipop actually has 9 grams of fiber packed in it as well. And so it truly is good for your gut health.
Yeah. Are you seeing the lifetime value of a customer is very high for Olipop? Is that something that you've seen in the data?
Yeah. I would say that a lot of our, a large portion of our revenue, especially online, is it's subscription based, right? So I think a lot of people try it and then they get hooked and it's subscribed. One kind of challenge that we're facing right now, right, is that we're now in over 12,000 retail doors as well. And
Wow. Okay.
it's very easy to have a subscription product where you can't buy it anywhere else, right? A couple brands that come to mind is like Athletic Greens and Magic Spoon,
Mhm.
that are both taking off right now, and they're only online at the moment. And so for us, our lifetime value is high, but at the same time, it's like we're dealing with, yeah, people hear about us, maybe will order a case, try it, love it, and then they're also finding it in grocery too, at a pretty competitive price. And so we do have a high lifetime value, but I think as we're getting into more doors, it's interesting to kind of see that relationship of the D2C consumer, who also is shopping in retail.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that a bit, right? Because I think a lot of people are of the opinion that if you're D2C, you can't ever go into retail. It's just not something you do, right? Yeah, we're D2C. That's all we're ever going to do because it's easy for the consumer, especially after the pandemic. Not everyone likes going out shopping. I hate grocery shopping. It's the worst. It's the worst chore of them all. So what have you found, are those main things what are the main benefits of being in retail as well as D2C?
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's benefits of both, right? But one thing is that we found when we kind of did a survey online is that of non first order of non-subscription, so people buying Olipop for the first time and they weren't a subscriber, 13% of them actually heard about us from a retail or grocery store, right?
Wow,
Whether
okay.
they saw us or tried us, they at least heard about us from that. What's even crazier, right, is that a subscription customer is going to be the most valuable, right? The LTV is going to be way
Hmm.
higher than just a non-subscriber. That number uh, actually jumps to 31%. So
Okay.
31% of our first time orders who are subscribing actually found us in retail. And so it's
Wow.
interesting that it kind of goes both way, that retail actually is helping some of our own .com sales as well. Um, I think what's really important though about having a D2C play as well is that you can really control the customer consumer's journey through it, right? At
Hmm.
retail, you get the product on the shelf, and that's kind of where the journey stops with the customer. They might reach out to you via email or something if something goes wrong, but on the D2C, you can continue and build that relationship. And I think that's where, customer experience and why you're seeing that kind of division within the business grow so much is they're understanding how valuable that is. And so I think that's kind of the benefits of both having the .com business, so we can kind of control that relationship a little bit better with the consumer, but then also retail is helping that .com business grow at the same time.
Yeah. Did you see a big drop in the retail during the pandemic? Was it thankful that you had D2C, or was it something which didn't really matter? Because obviously people were still buying groceries, people had to, right? But there was a massive push to D2C.
Yeah. So our D2C business before the pandemic, we had one, but it really wasn't much. And to be honest, Olipop was in pretty limited retail at the beginning of 2020. And so I would say that the biggest thing we saw from retail, obviously, we kind of shifted some of the strategy around e-commerce and really emphasized it. We were doing like $10,000 to $20,000 a month on ecom
Hmm.
then, and then obviously that more than quadrupled, like starting in March
Yeah.
of 2020. But the biggest thing for retail wasn't that it slowed down drastically, because in April you saw this massive peak, because everyone was buying anything on the
Yeah.
shelf. uh, but it was just, for us it was tough because a lot of the retailer resets happen once to twice a year, and those were all getting pushed back. And so
Hmm.
for us, that was the biggest thing from retail, was just the delay in all of the resets that were supposed to happen. So our timing when we were going to get on shelf was just pushed back to way later in the year.
Were you investing quite heavily in paid media like before the pandemic, or was this something which was just something that you just ended up going really hard on because of the pandemic, because of the increase in D2C?
We were, somewhat doing some influencer play and things like that. Not an absolute ton. I also was just consulting with Olipop at that time in early
Oh, okay.
2020. I didn't join full time till 2021. Um, but definitely. I think like kind of looking back on it, Facebook spend and stuff, that the CAC was just so low that we almost regret not spending even more. I mean, we obviously
Mhm.
ramped up our budget for media spend, and nowadays we look back and be like, man, we should have just doubled or tripled it because it was just so effective during the pandemic.
Yeah, it's hindsight though. It's 2020. It's always the
Yeah.
case. So you guys are omnichannel. You're all over the place when it comes to paid. How has that been working in your favor? Is this something which, so I mean, some brands are pinned on one platform. I speak to DTC brands every single day, and they're like, "Oh, Facebook is horrific now. What do I do?" And it's like, why aren't you on other channels? Like, why isn't this something you're doing? You guys are already there and doing that. What are the benefits of doing that?
Yeah. I mean, so like first off, I mean, omni-channel, right? So for us, we're doing acquisition, but we're also, a lot of our budget's awareness as well, right? So I
Mhm.
think that is one thing that kind of enables us to go across all platforms, because someone might see the ad and it might not convert to a purchase, but who knows, maybe they're going into retail and buying it.
Yeah.
So I think one thing for us is we're really, especially this year, as the retail is growing so much, is we're emphasizing on awareness as well. And so we have media spend broken out between, acquisition and awareness. Um, but three-fourths of consumers are omni-channel, right? So they're shopping on any different platform and all over the place. And I think omni-channel is just meeting, the consumer where they are and where
Mhm.
they want to shop on that given occasion. And so it's really worked out for us. I mean, our .com business grew over 200% last year. Amazon grew over 200% last year, and so just for us, I think right now, we just came off of the Series B raise, and last year and kind of leading up to the beginning of this year, we were doing almost a shotgun approach to really see,
Mhm.
what media outlets were most effective for us. And I think a lot of brands should do that. And to your point, not be pinpointed on one thing. Um, because this .com business is always changing. At 1 minute, maybe it's Facebook that's working really well.
Mhm.
Like for us, podcasts actually were a thing last year. That was like a huge, like a very low CAC and a very high LTV actually. And then we've kind of see that shift a little bit this year. And so, we had to shift some money around from podcasts, and we put it towards TikTok, because now TikTok is just the big thing. And so I think, credit to our growth team for kind of coming up with a strategy, knowing that we are going to have this Series B fundraising, and be like, okay, let's take a shotgun approach and try all these different
Mhm.
things. Let's see what's working best, and then let's just throw money towards whatever working for that time being. And if we see that CAC start to rise too high, be like, okay, let's see where else we can kind of pivot.
Yeah, and what has been so far this year? What's been the most successful channel for you guys in terms of brand awareness, acquisition?
Yeah. To be honest, it kind of depends on how you want to rate it, but influencers for us has been really big. It's obviously a little bit lower of a lifetime value, just because they're usually going to discount up front. Maybe they've already heard of us or whatever, but they're using the discount code. Reorders haven't been as high as we've wanted, but the CAC, in terms of CAC, it's drastically lower than any other channel. And so for us, influencers has been really great. But we're starting to see TikTok take off in the last couple of months. We're starting to push more dollars towards that, and it's really trying to grow it organically too,
Mhm.
which I think is really unique about the platform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we've been working with a lot of brands in order to help them with their TikTok paid, and I think it is like this year, you know, their investments into the live shopping side of things, like they're really ecom focused, and there hasn't really been a platform which has done that with the support that comes with TikTok, and like you said, like the organic and stuff like that. So, how are you working with influencers on TikTok? Are you running Spark ads? Are you like what's been the play so far on TikTok?
Yeah, we're still exploring it. We've been kind of doing some. Haven't done too much paid advertisements into to where it's an actual ad popping up. But we've really done with some influencers is uh, trying to grow awareness right now on
Mhm.
TikTok. TikTok is our big thing, and so paying an influencer where we're just naturally in the video has seemed like it's been a really good success for us. Just from
Yeah.
like, feedback in terms of comments and things like that. So we've been kind of leaning on that, but we're obviously going to be shifting our approach, I think, in the next couple months and doing some strict paid ads with it.
Yeah, being on the channel, being on, pretty much every channel, but then also being in retail, how have you tracked, how can you see the return from, like, like you mentioned, someone sees you on, on Facebook, let's say, but then they go down to Target and they buy you. Like, for DTC brands only, it's that, they're buying from one of your ads, right? How have you been tracking that data to see that you are actually getting return on ad spend when people are buying you in a retail store?
That is the $1 million question that we're still
Yeah, I
trying to
bet.
crack. I mean, I think if you had an answer to that, then every single brand would love it. For us, we've signed up for some consumer research studies and surveys, and so we're kind of in the process of putting that all together to really see, kind of like the how did you hear about us on our own website. We're trying to do
Mhm.
that within retail. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult and a lot more expensive, but it's something that we're trying to track because, yeah, if we're spending all this money towards awareness, like, is it actually going to retail, and which retailers is it even going to? Um, there's a couple ways you can do it with some like click through things where the ad pops up and it's, maybe directing you to a certain retailer. But at the end of the day, that's not true, in-store sales. And so it's really difficult, but hopefully after we get some of these consumer research studies back, we'll have a better answer for you.
Yeah, how has Amazon fitted into your strategy? Because I think, again, there's this kind of misconception with DC brands. Oh, I don't want to be on Amazon because it's not my data, it's not my platform. I'm renting the space. I have to pay someone else. But then there's this thing that also, I mean, for me, it's the first place I go. Like, even if I see an advert on Facebook, I'm going to Amazon and I'm seeing if I can get it tomorrow on Prime and not have to wait 3 days for shipping.
Yeah. Amazon, I think, I mean, 70 to 75% of people shop on Amazon,
Yeah,
right? Which is just like remarkable that some people are so against it because, I mean, everyone shops there, right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's so easy. I mean, a couple of things if you are on Amazon, being Prime is just like a must,
Mhm.
because so many customers are turned off if it's not Prime. For us, it's kind of been on the back burner for a bit. You know, we just kind of let it organically happen. We have, 3PL that we work with who's kind of controlling some of it in our ad spend and things like that. But we're putting a lot more emphasis on it this year. We actually signed up with a data provider called Stackline, which I don't know if people are looking for data providers, but we vetted a lot and we think they're kind of best in class. And so now we're starting to understand, it's starting to track market share, and just kind of how we're doing in terms of paid performance on there and things like that. So it hasn't been a top priority, but in 2023, I think it's shifting to become one of our top priorities just because of the size of the prize there. Um,
Out of all the data that you're seeing coming in from all these different channels, from what you can get from retail, from Amazon, what data are you guys tracking in order to help you get the best acquisition prices, to get the best market research? What's that data that you're tracking to help people?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. I for my entire career I've been retail focused
Mm.
actually. When I was at Chameleon Cold Brew, I was, a data analyst, kind of category manager, when I first started here at Olipop. And so I've always been involved in creating structure and reporting around retail, which is usually pretty easy because it's
Mm.
kind of, been around for so long. And at the beginning of this year, I was kind of tasked with organizing all of the other data and getting retail and the .com data to speak to each other. And so it's been really interesting kind of exploring all of this. And like you said, I mean, there's just so many different, facets to data, whether it be Instacart, whether it be GoPuff, whether it be, our own .com, Amazon, and then just some of these other, consumer researches. We use Numerator for consumer research, and get data from them. And so kind of putting it all together has been very difficult. But I would say a couple of key things that we're tracking, in terms of consumer research. we are looking at household penetration just to see our percentage grow over time. Um, and we can kind of do that between retail and not necessarily Amazon, but some other retail partners online, like a Walmart.com or a Target.com. So from a consumer research, that's one big thing that we're tracking, along with demographics. But to be fair, our demographics aren't really changing drastically over time amongst the consumer demographic breakdown. And then for us, the biggest thing right now, I would say, is just CAC to LTV and keeping that ratio within the sweet spot that we want it at. And if we're seeing anything kind of increase too high, then we got to bring it down, and bring our spend down and shift it around.
Have you found that your demographic has changed because you're in retail? Because, like, you know, there's a much younger generation of people which are shopping online and even thinking about buying, you know, things like soda online. Like, have you seen, because you're in retail, that you have a much broader range of people buying Olipop?
Yeah, I would say that's a very fair statement, especially, you know, as we've gone into the way more, I call them conventional retailer accounts, right? So, you know, Targets now, Kroger's, not just the high end, you know, natural retailers like a Whole Foods. Your demographic is just naturally going to kind of broaden. And since we kind of are in those stores now, there's not a lot of change or shifts that's happening, because we are kind of, you know, available now for every American home. Anyone can kind of buy us at, I would say, almost every single store that they're shopping at right now. We're probably on the shelf somewhere.
Amazing. So, I mean, talking about retail, let's kind of finish off talking about the future of buying groceries online. Like, for us here in the UK, I'm not sure how much you know about it, but it's pretty much every single like major store we have online delivery. Massive during the pandemic. You know, you can order things online. I remember when I first ever heard, when I was a kid, about online groceries, I thought I'd be walking through a grocery aisle and I'd be picking things off the shelf. But it's not. It's a fairly boring experience ordering groceries online. You have substitutes that come in because they don't have the right thing in. It's not the best experience, right? Like, how do you see, with the way that you're DTC and retail, where do you see online grocery going compared to, you know, retail?
I really don't think online grocery is going to slow down. I think it's still going to continue to grow. People are always just looking for convenience, you know, and Instacart here in the United States, I'm not sure if it's in the UK yet, is really kind of the perfect platform, right? They partner with all of these different retailers, so it's not like you have to, you know, use the certain retailer platform that you're shopping at. You can shop at a couple different retailers and still use Instacart, and their data and reporting is just getting better. We've seen that our spend and our return on investment and ad spend within Instacart is one of the best that we have out there. And so, you know, our market share, we started investing more this year, and this was just through March, but our market share has actually doubled on Instacart alone. And I know that some brands who are primarily just in retail, Instacart makes up over 25% of their retail sales.
Whoa.
Which is like kind of crazy. You know, they might be in 5,000 doors and 25% of it is still coming from Instacart. So I really think that that's the future of grocery, is still buying it online. But, you know, we'll see what Amazon does too with these Amazon Fresh stores and the you know, way that you can just walk in and out of stores.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I don't know what your experience is, but, you know, out of stocks is like the biggest issue for a lot of retail brands,
Definitely.
right? Product not being on the shelf. And I think that for retail grocery, the future of that is going to be solving those out of stock issues. And I think Amazon's kind of leading the charge in that.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of those things, isn't it? I think with all the data that Amazon have, you know, the brand recognition, everything that goes along with that, is going to be very difficult to compete when they bring out a service similar to Instacart or something like that. We do have similar services in the UK which are popping up thick and fast, but I don't think any of them compare to where Instacart is right now. If there's grocery brands, you know, CPG brands, which you're thinking, okay, where should we launch, right? Like, do we just go full on DTC and just plow a load of money into ads, or or should we just look at getting into retail? Like, do you have any advice for these people, like in terms of what you've seen in the data?
I mean, I truly believe that, maybe to first start, you got to launch a little bit of D2C, grow somewhat of a customer base. But I would say to put emphasis on both. I think profitability is a huge thing that a lot of brands don't look at. And I think a lot of them think that retail is just not profitable by any
Mhm.
means. And I think if you control your promotion strategy within retail, it really can be, especially once you get some of the larger retailers. Um, your profitability increases. And so uh, I would say to maybe start on D2C, but don't, forget about retail. Like I said, I mean, what, 31% of our first time subscribers are coming from retail, right?
Yeah.
So it really does kind of have this, mutual benefit of a relationship. And I think the other thing is you're starting to see a lot of these large D2C brands move into retail, and I think a lot of it is because of profitability.
Mhm.
They get large, and if you don't have the perfect product that's a lightweight shipping, because shipping fees are just continuously increasing, that they're like, okay, wow, we're really starting to burn a lot of cash. We're not adding as many new customers because everyone's already seen all of our
Mhm.
ads.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, let's move into retail, right? If you think like Casper, Allbirds, Warby Parker, their strategy of moving into retail was building their own stores. But you even see like Viore, some of these other clothing brands are doing the same thing. I think it comes down to profitability. So I would say my advice to brands is don't sleep on the profitability from the retail side, because it's pretty fair to D2C, and with D2C shipping prices just increasing, who knows?
Yeah, and before we go, we ask all of our guests the same question. If you could only advertise on one platform for the next 5 years, what would it be and why? It's a difficult one because there's so many platforms coming out. TikTok wasn't even a thing 2 years ago, but like, what do you
I know.
think?
I Facebook and Instagram, I think, are always going to be around and important. I think for any new brand or a young brand, especially targeting people under the age of like 35, I would have to go with TikTok. I don't recall who exactly said this, but I really liked it. It was someone on Twitter. Shout out to whoever it was. Was that like Instagram and Facebook are social media platforms, but TikTok's like an entertainment platform.
That
So
was
many
me.
people
I
go.
tweeted that.
That was you?
That was me. I tweeted that. Got him. I got it. I'm
Oh
implanting. I'm
man.
implanting myself everywhere. That's the
I
way.
swear I could not find it, and I tried to type it into Twitter to see who it was to give them credit, and it was you. Well, there
It
you
was
go.
me.
Look at that.
We
That
got it. We
that's
got
funny.
it.
But I think you're spot on with that. And the other thing to that too, and I'm curious what you think of this, is like Instagram and Facebook, you can't really go viral organically, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Instagram has reels, but it's like not really the same. Whereas like TikTok, you can like become a trend and a fad like really quickly out of the blue. And
Yeah. I
so,
mean, look at, I think a perfect example of that is Ocean Spray, right? Like with the, like,
yeah,
who saw that one coming? It's just a guy with a bottle of Ocean Spray suddenly went viral. Nobody could buy it. Nobody could do anything. It's, yeah, there is real power behind organic TikTok, and it's just not the same on other platforms. Maybe TikTok will turn into one of these other platforms where organic reach is very difficult to get to, but I think right now it's a thing that people need to jump on, I think.
yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, the other thing is you really got to know who your consumer is, though, right? If it is a 18 to 30-year-old, I'd say TikTok all the way. If it is an
Mhm.
older demographic, whatever product you're launching, maybe it's not TikTok. Maybe it is Facebook or an Instagram, where those people are still buying. But I do think, and I can't believe I'm saying this, that I do think the future is TikTok.
Well,
Yeah.
we heard it there first. Thank you very much, Ed. Thanks for joining us. Good
Yeah.
luck with everything you do at Olipop. It's been a real pleasure to speak.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the invite.
If people want to reach out to yourself, they want to follow your journey, give us a social media deets, give yourself a plug.
Yeah, it's at Ed Kolovson, EDKOLOV as in Victor, SON on Twitter or LinkedIn. And then if you want to try Olipop, our marketing team actually gave me a coupon code. So for 20% off, you can use the code ED20. That's all spelled out. So EDTWENTY, and you can get 20% off your first order.
Let's go. Ed20. Get it. Try yourself some Olipop. Exciting. I'm excited for when you launch in the UK to try it. I'm going to get a fridge and I'm going to be putting that stuff in there all the time. Thank you so much for your time, mate. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And that's it for the D2C Deep Dive this week. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. If you want to put some faces to the voices, then you can watch all of our episodes up on YouTube. Just search D2C Deep Dive. However, you want to follow myself on Twitter and give us a shout, that would be amazing. Always open to conversations with new people. It's at Sour Fraser. But until next week, have a great week ahead, and I'll speak to you soon.